Hey guys, what's going on? So I just saw a clown in a cornfield, and it's as silly as you think it would be. There's no possible way that I can do this without doing spoilers. So I'm just going to say that up front, that if you want to see, what's the quickest way that I can describe this movie? I want to say that, like, if you want to see something that's kind of like scary stories to tell in the dark. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, or like Jack Black Goosebumps. Like a, I don't know, maybe that's a little too far. Scary stories to tell in the dark. I remember when I saw that in theaters. It's on Netflix right now, or it used to be on Netflix. Maybe they took it off. But Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was like, it was a PG-13 horror movie, like a teen horror movie. You know what's funny is I just did a review for Until Dawn, and I was talking about a lot of teenage horror, and I think that that's the most elevated like teenage horror movie in a sea of generic teenage horror movies. And I will go into how this is very much a generic version of a teenage horror movie. But like, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was another one of those. And I think I didn't like the ending of that movie, but I did like a lot more of the movie. And this movie feels like that movie. I didn't know going into the movie what it was rated. And even coming out of the movie, if you told me that it was a PG-13 movie, I would have believed you. It's a rated R movie. And I feel like they could have taken away a couple of the F-bombs. Obviously, like PG-13, you only get one F-bomb, so I guess that should have told me. But like, a lot of the deaths are very cutaway. You see blood, so it's not completely cutaway, but a lot of it is very quick. It's a very, like, you see the thing and then it just cuts away. So it's not a complete, like, cutaway movie, but it feels very much, it's not Terrifier, which is funny because a lot of, like, a lot of content creators are being like, is this the new Terrifier? Is this the new Art the Clown? No, not even kind of. Not even a little bit. I questioned whether or not this movie was even rated R coming out of this movie. So, like, you know what's funny is I saw this movie and they came in a little bit late, but there was a dad and his two kids, and the kids were like 8-year-old, 12-year-old, they come up to your like waist, right? That age of kid, like definitely not teenage kids, like definitely, like I'm pretty sure, last week they saw Minecraft and this week they're watching Clown in a Cornfield. That should have told me that I was in for a not Terrifier 2 experience, a not Terrifier 3 experience. But I went into this movie with a lot of like really good, like it has like an 83 or something on Rotten Tomatoes. And I feel like if you are looking for a gateway movie to show an 8-year-old, a 12-year-old, like that range, like somebody who would be very excited to watch Minecraft, but then also wants to see a horror movie because now they've already seen Minecraft. Like, that's now an old movie, like, and you don't want to take them to see Thunderbolts. Maybe you take them to this, and this can be their gateway horror movie. There's no nudity. There's like implied things, but like there's nothing. And like you see a bra, and then there's like an almost sex scene that definitely doesn't happen. And other than that, it's very cutaway death kills. Like it's a very much PG-13 horror movie. And I don't think it's good. And I don't think it's good for reasons that I developed this channel for. My entire thesis for this channel and developing it as this and that reviews is that's how I always compare movies. I compare movies to movies that I've already seen. And I feel like we all do this, whether we want to or not. Whatever we see first is our first and experience with that thing. So I'll give you the best example that I can possibly think of. I never watched Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Raiders of the Lost Ark is very much the quintessential adventure movie that every other adventure movie spawned from, right? That's the original, This is the thing, right? This is the adventure movie that everybody knows of, and it's the best one, right? I never saw it. You know what I did see? The Mummy. The Mummy, I love it. It's great. I watched Indiana Jones much, much later than I watched The Mummy. Like, all of The Mummy had come out. Tom Cruise's The Mummy already came out. And then I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know what's funny? I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark because of the, not because I wanted to see the movie, not because I had any interest in watching the movie, but because they made fun of it. And I don't watch The Big Bang Theory, but because that clip had kept floating around, that Indiana Jones doesn't need to be in the movie and the movie plays out the exact same way, I thought that was hilarious, and I wanted to watch that movie for the first time with that knowledge. And I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I was like, this is just really not fun Mummy. It's the Mummy, but without all the fun of having mummy stuff. Like, it's the same kind of movie, but without cool mummy CGI stuff. Like, it's just a bad version of The Mummy. Because The Mummy was my first introduction to action films. And so all of my knowledge of action films are going to be, or adventure movies. All of my acknowledgement of adventure movies are going to be clouded because The Mummy is my standard. There can be something better. There can be something better that comes out. But that will, I'll always that'll be top 1, 2, 3, right? I said at the beginning of this that I can't talk about this without spoilers. And so if you still want to see this movie as a, introduction to horror movie to show your 12-year-old, then, and you don't want to watch, you don't want to know spoilers, then you can click off now and go watch the movie. But if you're okay with spoilers, I'm going to spoil a lot of this movie. I heard prior to going into this movie that at the halfway point, this becomes a different movie. And it does. And the reason why it becomes a different movie is because it's Hot Fuzz, but instead of being a late game twist with a quarter finale, a last quarter finale, right? As opposed to showing the twist at the 3/4 point, and then, now knowing that going into the finale, this movie shows its hand halfway into the movie and then plays out the rest of the movie. And I didn't like it. And it felt like a half-baked, it felt like the precursor to what Hot Fuzz would be. It's like this movie walked so that Hot Fuzz could run, but Hot Fuzz came out a long time ago. And the twist in Hot Fuzz, I'm going to spoil Hot Fuzz as well. And if you want to see the better version of this movie and you don't want spoilers for Hot Fuzz, go watch Hot Fuzz and now turn off this review again. The twist in Hot Fuzz is that all of the people in the town are the murderers. It's just everybody is the murderer. So for the first 3/4 of the movie, you assume that there's one killer. And then there's a double twist where Nicholas Angel, Simon Pegg, realizes that there's 2 killers. And then it's revealed that everybody's the killer. It's an entire group of killers. And then it goes into the final act that pays off all of the things that they've been setting up in the movie. But also, the idea that when they go into the twist that everybody is the killer, you understand why. This movie, everybody's the killer, but every single person gets a singular scene and you never see them again. And then you're supposed to have glanced that the reason why they want to kill all these kids is because of their scene. So the first scene that happens is the teacher, the school teacher, and they prank him by doing a Dr. Dilliman, and when he drops the drape, they like taped a picture of his face on a buff body, and it's like, oh, you know, like they're so silly. And then you have the one girl videoing because she has like a video channel, right? And then he passes out the tests as a, you know, like, oh, you wanna show me up? I'm gonna pass out the tests. And then on the test is his like a fake Tinder profile that they glued to every single test, right? So even that is another thing, right? And the idea is that he's angry as a teacher because kids are shitty. And that's why he wants to murder. That's the given reason, the implied reason later on in the movie that's why he wants to murder kids. And then they go to, like, the next person is like a shop owner and they steal from him, right? These are kids being shitty. And that doesn't feel like that big of a stretch, that like all of these towns that like it's framed as if what they're doing is a bad thing, like because they're killing children. But at the same time, like these kids are being shitty to them. They're not doing it for just a ridiculous reason. And I think the ridiculous reasons that are given in Hot Fuzz just work so much better. It's like, oh, you know, like I wanted to kill him because he doesn't act well. Like he's a terrible actor, and this is like acting, right? That's a funny reason. These kids being shitty to these people in these different ways because they're mean, because they're specifically mean, and they're specifically like mean to this teacher. They're specifically like ripping off a shop for alcohol that they shouldn't be drinking. They're purposely doing mean things. And I just couldn't completely get on board with the idea that they're not just evil kids. And when you can't relate to your protagonist, it's really hard to watch a movie where the antagonists are supposed to be the antagonist. Then it just feels like a movie of bad people and worse people. And I can't, like, it's just supposed to be like the idea that they're kids and kids be kids. And that's why you're supposed to relate to them. But I feel like if they were adults doing this, like, and you know, like, you wouldn't care about them. It's just because it's the idea that they're kids. And then you're like, oh, whatever, they're kids. They're like, they don't know any better. They don't know what they're doing, you know? This movie, it tries to feel subversive. It's doing so many things to be subversive. You have like the first half of this movie is like all of the teenage tropes. It's this new girl that goes to a school, and you immediately meet the jock, the pretty girl, the love interest, and the two friends. And ironically, like the two friends, like the two people that I'm not naming, because I don't know any of their personalities, are black kids. They're their two black friends, which felt very like woke. It felt very like they don't have personality other than they just needed two extra people in this movie. Like, I don't know anything more about them. They don't do anything of interest. And one dies almost immediately. And so it plays out like a regular like horror movie, like a regular one of these. But it tries to be subversive in the idea that it's the adults that are evil. But that's the other thing. When the one kid, because you're learning about all these like different, like, oh, maybe it's this guy, right? And the one kid that's weird, there's like the weird kid, right? And the weird kid is the only person taller than how tall they are, right? And he shotguns one of the clowns. And that's the reveal at the halfway point of the movie, where it's revealed that there are 7 different clowns who are also very tall. Now, in a teenage kid movie where all of your protagonists are, you know, short kids, like teenage kids, and everybody else is a basketball player, it's not hard to connect the dots that it's just the people of the town. There's also a throwaway line that's like, because it's unnecessarily, there's like a prequel scene, and it says like 1991, and then And then once the prequel scene and the title credits happen, it says, and then it has title card now, whatever now is, right? And there's a throwaway line where they say like, oh yeah, this town is just stuck in the 90s. And there's no reason for that line other than to set up the end of this movie, that the reason why all of these people are doing it is the same reason that all of the people did it in Hot Fuzz. They literally just want to preserve the purity of this town. And it's all the adults. And it's very clear and obvious that it's gonna be all the adults, but because I already saw that twist in Hot Fuzz, now I know that it can happen in every other movie. And so I'm going to compare this to Hot Fuzz because it's just done much better in Hot Fuzz. You don't know, like, there's not like all the people are kids and then, there's basketball players, right? Tall people, right? So you don't know that even can be a twist for a multitude of reasons. It's very obviously the twist in this movie. And I think just the way that it's executed just doesn't work. And so when you don't have the twist, what do you have to hold on to? The characters. The characters are very like one-dimensional, horror, like just teenage cliches. It's just every teenage character, like the fact that there's a jock and a pretty girl and like the love interest and, the main girl that just moved into town. I'm actually shocked that there's not like a nerdy guy. I guess you could say that like the one guy that walks her to school is the nerdy guy. What's funny is when they first got into the classroom, I thought that the girl that she sits next to, she has glasses on. I was like, oh, this is going to be the nerdy best friend. You never see her again. She would have been a much more interesting character to have in this movie. And like, that's what the movie is. It's just like, it's teenage tropes in a rated R movie that feels PG-13 with a twist that is done much better in Hot Fuzz. I think that there is a 12-year-old out there that will not have seen Hot Fuzz that will watch this movie and think that it's really good. I think that there is an audience for this movie. I think that it will work for somebody. It did not work for me. I think there are too many better versions of this kind of movie to even entertain the idea that this might have been good. When you don't get a lot of like shock value over the kills, when the twist is something that I saw coming like a mile away, I couldn't. I was trying to have fun with this movie and I just couldn't. And it feels really weird to say because it's such a high like Rotten Tomato score. But I feel like everything about this movie, Hot Fuzz is much bloodier too. Hot Fuzz is such a it's much funnier. It's bloodier, and it's a better version of this kind of twist. Like, and the idea of like a twist in a movie and being compared to a different movie, it's like The Sixth Sense. Finding out that Bruce Willis is dead the whole time. When you see that kind of twist, there was a Dexter season. There was a Dexter season where the main villain is talking to it was the Catholic Church one. It was he likes making like tableaus, I believe that was the word that they used. Where he's always interacting with this older like fat guy. And it's this Edward James Olmos is the main villain. And he's always interacting with this like short fat guy. And you are supposed to assume that the short guy giving him all of the instructions is the main guy because he's teaching Edward James Olmos. I believe that's what his name was. And the twist that everybody saw coming was he's a figment of his imagination, because we now know to look out for the idea of, has that character interacted with any other character other than the one character that he talks to all the time? And the answer was no. And because of that fact, because we know that from The Sixth Sense, because in that movie, Bruce Willis doesn't interact with any other character other than the character that can see dead people. And that is revealed prior to the Bruce Willis twist. That was a double twist in that movie. That was a cool, like, double twist in that movie. The fact that Cole sees dead people and the fact that Bruce Willis is actually dead. And you get that cool double twist. But now knowing the rule of that he has never interacted with anybody else, whenever that thought even comes into your mind, you now know that could happen and you look out for it. When I saw Hot Fuzz and I now know to look out for the idea that it could be the town, it just doesn't do very well. It's not that it can't be done well, but this is just not a good version of it. It's just a bad version of Hot Fuzz. It's not even like a B-level version of Hot Fuzz. It's just a bad version of Hot Fuzz. And it would be like if another movie came out where they did the Bruce Willis twist, but he interacted with other people. And then they still used it as a twist. It would feel like that. It's like, wait a second, this doesn't even make sense. How did you interact with the door? How did you pick up that phone? How did you interact with this thing? Now it doesn't make sense that you're a ghost. Are you a ghost that can interact with it? And then it would just start to like unravel, and then you'd start to like be like, well, this is just a bad version of that. And that's how I felt about this movie. It's just a bad version of Hot Fuzz. Go watch Hot Fuzz.